I woke up the morning after my wedding believing my life had finally settled into something safe. My name is Claire Bennett. I was 34 years old, an elementary school teacher, and less than 24 hours earlier I had married Ryan Cole. Sunlight filled the bedroom, soft and warm, the kind of quiet morning people dream about. Ryan was still asleep beside me, one arm stretched across the bed, breathing slow and steady. He looked peaceful. Like a man with nothing to hide. I slipped out of bed carefully so I would not wake him. I made myself a cup of tea, cut a small piece of leftover wedding cake, and stood by the kitchen window smiling without even realizing it. It felt strange, but in a good way, to think the word husband and know it belonged to my life now. That was when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. "Hello," I said. There was a pause, then a man's voice. Calm, professional. "Miss Bennett, this is Daniel Brooks, the manager at Riverside Grill. We hosted your wedding last night." I smiled automatically. "Yes, everything was wonderful. Thank you again." Another pause. Longer this time. "That is not why I am calling." Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" "We reviewed our security footage this morning," he said carefully. "And there is something you need to see. I cannot explain it over the phone." My grip on the phone tightened. "You need to come here today. Alone. And please do not tell your husband." Behind me, I heard the shower turn on. Ryan was awake. And in that moment, standing in my own kitchen, holding a phone that suddenly felt too heavy, I realized something was wrong. That was the moment my marriage ended. Before it had even begun. Before that phone call, I believed I knew exactly who my husband was. Ryan Cole came into my life quietly, almost gently. We met about 6 months earlier at a small bookstore just outside downtown. I was standing on my toes trying to reach a teaching guide from the top shelf when he walked over and offered to help. He smiled in a way that felt simple, not rehearsed, not trying too hard. We started talking right there in the aisle. It was easy. No pressure, no awkward pauses. Just two people having a normal conversation that somehow felt meaningful. Ryan worked as a mechanic. He told me he liked working with his hands, that fixing things made sense to him in a way people sometimes did not. There was something steady about him. Grounded. Predictable in a way that felt safe. He listened when I spoke. That was the first thing I noticed. He remembered small details. The names of my students. The stories I told about my parents. The little frustrations I would usually keep to myself. He showed up. If I stayed late grading papers, he would bring me coffee without asking. If I mentioned I had a long day ahead, he would text me that morning just to check in. It was never overwhelming. Just consistent enough to feel real. After years of being on my own, that kind of attention felt like warmth after a long winter. My friends thought it was fast. 6 months is not a long time to go from strangers to marriage. My parents were cautious, asking careful questions, watching him closely in a way only parents do. But when you feel seen, truly seen, time starts to feel different. Ryan talked about the future early on. Not in a rushed or pushy way, but in a calm, certain tone. He said he did not believe in wasting time pretending. He wanted something real. Something stable. A home, a partner, a life that made sense. I believed him. I believed that sometimes love does not arrive with chaos or intensity. Sometimes it arrives quietly, without warning, and simply stays. I thought I had finally chosen right. And that belief made what came next impossible to ignore. Our wedding night looked exactly the way people imagine happiness should look. We chose a small place called Riverside Grill because it felt warm and personal. No grand ballroom, no elaborate decorations. Just soft lights, close friends, family, and a quiet atmosphere that made everything feel intimate and real. There were around 40 people. My parents, Ryan's parents, a few of my colleagues from school, some of his friends from the auto shop, and my closest friends, including Megan Lawson. Megan had been in my life since college. Confident, outgoing, the kind of person who filled a room without trying. She had always been more expressive than me, more comfortable with attention, more physical in the way she interacted with people. At the time, I never questioned it. When my father walked me down the aisle, his hand trembled slightly. He leaned in and whispered that he was proud of me. I had to hold back tears as I looked ahead and saw Ryan waiting, standing tall, smiling like I was the only person he could see. The ceremony was simple. Honest. When he took my hand, his grip felt warm and steady. He leaned closer and told me quietly that he would always take care of me. During the reception, everything flowed easily. Conversations, laughter, music. It felt like one of those nights you wish you could pause and hold on to. But there were small things. Megan laughed a little too loudly when she spoke to Ryan. She touched his arm more than once, lingering just a second longer than necessary. At one point, she wrapped her arms loosely around his shoulders and joked that he was lucky to have me. I noticed it. And then I dismissed it. I told myself I was overthinking. That I was just emotional, tired, overwhelmed from the day. Megan had always been like that. Friendly. Open. Unfiltered. Later in the evening, while I was dancing with my father, Ryan stepped away. He leaned in and told me he needed to take a quick call from work. I nodded without hesitation. Why would I question it? Looking back now, that moment feels different. But at the time, surrounded by people I trusted, wrapped in what I believed was love, I chose not to look too closely. Sometimes your instincts speak quietly. And sometimes happiness is loud enough to drown them out. That night looked perfect. But something was already wrong. I drove to Riverside Grill with my hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than usual. The restaurant looked completely different in the daylight. The warmth from the night before was gone. Chairs were stacked, lights were dim, and the quiet felt almost unnatural, like the building was holding its breath. Daniel Brooks met me at the door. He did not smile this time. "You should sit down before you see this," he said gently. That was when the fear settled in. He led me through a narrow hallway past the kitchen and into a small office at the back. A laptop sat open on the desk. The screen was paused on a grainy black and white image. I felt my chest tighten. "I want you to know," he said, "that I debated calling you. But if this were my daughter, I would want someone to tell her." He pressed play. The footage showed a storage room. Shelves lined the walls. Boxes stacked in uneven piles. A small couch sat in the corner. A timestamp blinked in the corner of the screen. 9:43 p.m. My mind raced. That was when I had been dancing with my father. The door opened. Megan walked in first. She moved with confidence, like she knew exactly where she was going. She glanced behind her before stepping fully inside. Then Ryan followed. He closed the door. My breath caught in my throat. They stood close. Too close. Megan said something I could not hear. Then she placed her hands on his chest. Ryan did not step back. He did not hesitate. He pulled her closer. And they kissed. Not a mistake. Not something brief or uncertain. It was slow. Familiar. Intentional. The kind of kiss that does not happen for the first time. I felt like the air had been pulled out of the room. My ears rang. My vision blurred at the edges. "This does not make sense," I whispered. "There has to be something else." But the screen did not change. They sat down together on the couch. Relaxed. Comfortable. Megan handed him something. He laughed. She leaned into him like it was natural. Like I did not exist. I wanted to look away. I should have looked away. But I could not. Daniel reached toward the keyboard, then paused. "There is audio," he said quietly. My heart pounded. He looked at me once, giving me a moment I did not take. Then he turned the sound on. And that was when everything fell apart. At first, their voices were low. Casual. Almost relaxed, like two people unwinding after a long evening. Megan laughed softly. "I thought I was going to lose it out there," she said. "Watching you dance with her all night. Pretending to be her friend." Ryan chuckled. "Relax," he said. "Everything is going exactly the way it should." I felt something inside me go still. Planned. That word echoed in my mind, louder than anything else. Megan shifted closer to him. "So how much longer do we have to keep this up?" she asked. "When are you actually going to leave her?" Ryan leaned back like he had all the time in the world. "Not yet," he said. "First, I need her to sign the condo over." My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, barely breathing. "I have already started planting the idea," he continued. "Talking about joint ownership, building a future together. She believes in that kind of thing." Megan laughed. "Of course she does." Ryan smiled, almost amused. "She trusts me," he said. "Honestly, it is easier than I thought. Give it a few weeks, and she will walk into the office herself and put my name on everything." My hands clenched so tightly I could feel my nails pressing into my skin. "And after that?" Megan asked. Ryan shrugged. "Then I leave. We sell the place, split the money, and move on. Maybe get something better. Somewhere new." They spoke about my home like it was a transaction. Like it meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. Then Ryan said something that changed everything. "Marrying someone like her was simple," he said. "She is predictable. Quiet. Grateful for attention." Megan laughed again. "And a little boring," she added. Ryan did not disagree. They both smiled. I felt something inside me break, but it was not loud. It was not dramatic. It was quiet. Clean. Because in that moment, I understood. None of it had been real. Not the bookstore. Not the conversations. Not the way he looked at me when he thought I was not paying attention. Not the promises he made standing across from me just hours earlier. I was not his wife. I was part of a plan. The video kept playing, but I no longer needed to hear anything else. When it ended, the room was silent. I sat there staring at the screen, waiting for something to happen inside me. Tears. Anger. Anything. But instead, there was something else. Clarity. They thought I was weak. They thought I would never see it. And in that moment, I made a decision. I was not going to confront him. I was going to expose him. I do not remember how I walked out of the restaurant. I only remember the weight of the flash drive in my hand and the silence that followed me all the way to my car. I did not go home. Instead, I drove to my parents' house. It was the one place that had always felt steady. Familiar. Safe in a way that did not need explanation. My mother opened the door and immediately knew something was wrong. She did not ask questions at first. She just stepped aside and let me in. My father stood up from the living room the moment he saw my face. When I showed them the video, everything changed. My mother covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes before the recording even ended. My father did not speak at all. He just watched, his expression tightening with every word Ryan said. When it was over, the room felt heavier. My father was the first to move. "We are going to confront him right now," he said. His voice was controlled, but I could hear the anger underneath it. I shook my head. No. He looked at me, confused. Why not? Because I already know how that will go, I said quietly. I could picture it clearly. Ryan denying everything. Saying it was taken out of context. Apologizing just enough to create doubt. Promising to fix things. To explain later. To make it right. People like him are good with words. And for a moment, I might hesitate. I might question what I had seen with my own eyes. I was not going to give him that chance. This is not something he gets to talk his way out of, I said. My mother reached for my hand. Then what are you going to do? I looked down at the table for a moment, feeling something settle inside me. The pain was still there, but it was no longer in control. I am not going to fight him in private, I said. I am going to let the truth speak where everyone can see it. My father did not argue after that. Because deep down, he understood. This was not about revenge. It was about clarity. The plan came together quietly. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. People sometimes host a second gathering after a wedding. Something smaller. More relaxed. A chance to spend time with everyone without the pressure of the ceremony. No one would question it. That made it perfect. That night, I called Ryan. I told him I had been thinking about how quickly everything had gone by. That I wanted to thank everyone properly. One more evening. Just close friends and family again. He did not hesitate. That sounds like you, he said. Always thoughtful. For a second, I almost laughed. Then I contacted Riverside Grill. Daniel agreed to help immediately. He did not ask questions. He did not need to. He had already seen enough. We booked the same space. Same layout. Simple food. Nothing extravagant. Just enough to bring everyone back together. Then I started making calls. Friends. Family. My coworkers. His parents. His friends from the shop. Everyone sounded happy. Supportive. Excited to come. Megan was the most enthusiastic. She joked that I was spoiling everyone, that I was the perfect wife. Her voice was light, playful, completely unaware. I smiled while she spoke. Ryan never suspected anything. He kissed my cheek before work. Talked about weekend plans. Mentioned things we should buy for the condo. Future plans that now sounded empty. I watched him closely during those days. The way he moved. The way he spoke. The ease of his lies. And I understood something clearly. If I had confronted him privately, he would have found a way to twist the truth. But this time, there would be no space for confusion. No room for denial. By the time Saturday arrived, everything was ready. All I had to do was show up. And press play. The restaurant filled faster than I expected. By 7 o'clock, every table was taken. The room was warm again, just like it had been on our wedding night. Laughter moved easily between conversations. Glasses touched. People smiled at me as I walked past, still seeing me as the bride from a few days ago. Ryan sat near the center, relaxed, confident, telling a story to a group of his friends. He looked exactly like the man I thought I married. Megan arrived a little late. She walked in like she always did, drawing attention without trying. She smiled when she saw me, gave me a quick hug, then took a seat close to Ryan. Like she belonged there. I stood across the room for a moment. Watching them. And for the first time, I did not feel confused. I felt certain. When everyone had finished eating and the conversation settled, I walked to the front of the room. The screen behind me was dark. I thanked everyone for coming. I kept my voice steady, calm. I said I appreciated the love and support, that the wedding had passed so quickly and I wanted to share one more moment with the people who mattered. Ryan looked at me and smiled. Proud. Trusting. I nodded toward Daniel. The screen lit up. At first, people leaned forward with curiosity. A few smiled, expecting a highlight from the wedding night. Then the storage room appeared. Megan walked in. Ryan followed. The room changed. The laughter faded. Conversations stopped. Someone shifted in their chair. Then the kiss happened. A sharp silence spread through the room. Ryan stood up so quickly his chair scraped loudly against the floor. "What is this?" he said, his voice tight. "Turn it off." No one moved. The sound came on. Megan's voice filled the room first. Light, casual, complaining about pretending. About watching him dance with me. Then Ryan's voice followed. Calm. Clear. Certain. Explaining the plan. Explaining me. You could feel the shift as people understood what they were hearing. Confusion turned into realization. Realization turned into discomfort. No one spoke. Ryan's mother covered her mouth, her eyes fixed on the screen. His father stared forward, unmoving, like he was trying to process something he did not recognize. Megan sat frozen. The video continued. Every word landed. And in that moment, there was nowhere left to hide. When the screen went dark, the room stayed silent. Because the truth had already done its work. And it did not need anything else. For a few seconds, no one moved. Ryan stood there, frozen, his face drained of color. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. For the first time since I had known him, he did not seem in control. I stepped forward slowly. My hands were steady. I reached up and removed the ring from my finger. It felt lighter than I expected, like it had already lost its meaning before I even touched it. I placed it gently on the table in front of him. "This is over," I said. My voice did not shake. "I am filing for divorce on Monday." That was when he finally reacted. "Claire, wait," he said quickly, reaching toward me. "This is not what it looks like. I can explain." I stepped back before he could touch me. "There is nothing to explain," I said. "You planned this. You lied. And you thought I would never find out." His expression shifted. Panic replacing confidence. "I made a mistake," he said. "Please, just let me fix this." I shook my head. "You did not make a mistake," I said quietly. "You made a plan." I turned to Megan. "You stood next to me at my wedding," I said. "You smiled at me. And the whole time, you were waiting for this." She looked around the room, searching for support. No one spoke. Ryan's father stepped forward, his voice firm in a way that did not invite argument. "That is enough," he said. "You need to leave." Ryan looked at him, stunned. Now. There was no anger in his father's voice. Just finality. Ryan hesitated for a moment, then lowered his head. He did not argue again. As he walked toward the door, people moved slightly to the side, creating space without saying a word. No one stopped him. No one defended him. I watched him leave. And when the door closed behind him, I felt something I did not expect. Relief. Not loud. Not overwhelming. Just quiet. And real. The next few days passed quietly. Not empty, not heavy, just different. I stayed with my parents for a short time. They did not ask too many questions. They did not offer advice I did not need. They simply stayed close, giving me space without letting me feel alone. On Monday morning, I went back to work. My students ran toward me the moment I walked into the classroom, just like they always did. They held up drawings, asked questions, talked all at once. Their energy filled the room in a way that felt honest and grounding. Life had not stopped. That was something I needed to feel. Ryan did not fight the divorce. He signed everything without delay. No arguments. No attempts to reach out again. It was as if, once exposed, there was nothing left for him to hold on to. The condo remained mine. Just as it had always been. When I returned home, the silence felt strange at first. The absence of another person is something you notice in small ways. An empty chair. A quiet kitchen. A space that feels slightly unfamiliar even though it is yours. But over time, that silence changed. It became peaceful. I started to notice things I had not before. The way the light came through the window in the morning. The calm of having a space that was entirely mine again. I realized something important. The hardest part was not losing him. It was losing the version of reality I believed in. And once that illusion was gone, everything else felt lighter. Clearer. More honest. Sometimes, what we think is stability is just something we have not questioned yet. And once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. But that does not mean you lose everything. Sometimes, it means you finally keep what matters. If there is one thing I learned from all of this, it is this. Not everything that feels safe is real. Sometimes, people do not show you who they are through big obvious actions. Sometimes, it is in the small things. The way they speak. The way they move. The way their actions slowly stop matching their words. And if something feels off, even just a little, do not ignore it. That quiet voice in your mind exists for a reason. Trust is not built on attention. It is not built on words alone. It is built on consistency over time. And real intentions do not need to be hidden. I also learned that being calm does not mean being weak. You do not have to react immediately. You do not have to argue to prove your strength. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is wait, observe, and let the truth reveal itself. Being underestimated gave me time. And time gave me clarity. If you are going through something similar, or if you have ever doubted yourself in a situation that did not feel right, know this. You are allowed to trust what you see. You are allowed to walk away. If this story meant something to you, take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Your story matters too.